Hello everyone, this is Dr. Baker, and these are examples from Module 2C for the course MAT0022. And Module 2C deals with adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. We'll begin with number 2 and continue with the highlighted problems. In order to add or subtract fractions, you must have common denominators. So the denominators must be the same. Now, if the denominators are the same, which they are for this example, 3 over 7 plus 1 over 7, you keep that denominator. So 7 stays in the denominator, it remains. And then you add or subtract, depending on what your operation says. In this case, we're adding in the numerator 3 plus 1, which gives us 4. And 4 over 7 is the answer. Now, you do want to always check and make sure that you can't simplify, meaning can you divide the numerator and denominator by the same digit. In this case, no other number other than 1 can be divided evenly into 4 and 7 without a remainder. So we leave it as 4 over 7. Now let's look at number 4. We're asked to find the least common multiple, and we often use the acronym LCM to represent least common multiple for the following pairs of numbers. So for 2 and 9, to get the least common multiple, you would simply list multiples of the 2 digits, in this case 2 and 9. We want to find multiples of 2 and multiples of 9, and then find the smallest one that they have in common. So we'll start with number 2 and just list multiples. 2 times 1, which gives us 2. 2 times 2, which gives us 4. 2 times 3, which gives us 6. 2 times 4 gives us 8. 2 times, where are we? With 2 times 4, 2 times 5 gives us 10. And then 2 times 6, which gives us 12. So we're really just counting up by 2s. 14, 16, and then 18. I'm going to stop here because if you think about multiples of 9, 9 times 1 gives us 9, but 9 times 2 gives us 18. There's our least common multiple. So our least common multiple would be 18. Now look at example 6. You have the fraction 3/4 and you're asked to write this as an equivalent fraction with a given denominator. So leaving the denominator as 20, how can I convert this numerator? So you really just want to fill in this top part of the fraction. Now, in order to fill in that space, you want to figure out how you acquired 20 in the denominator. What did you do to your 4 in order to get 20? Now, you can think about that mentally and say, hey, what do I multiply 4 by to get 20? And these numbers are small enough, you could probably figure it out. But if you can't, you would divide the 20 by 4. Divide 20 by 4 so that you will know what you had to multiply the 4 by. All right, and just remember you would divide it with 4 on the outside of your fraction bar, 20 inside. And how many times does 4 go into 20? It's 5 times. That lets you know what you had to multiply the 4 by in order to get 20 in the denominator. And whatever you multiply the denominator by, you must also multiply the numerator by. So in the numerator, we have to multiply 3 times 5. That numerator becomes 15. That's our answer, 15 in the numerator. All right, let's look at number 8. Now look, we're asked to add 3 divided by 22 plus 9 divided by 55. Notice our denominators are not the same, so we can't just simply add across. We have to get the common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite these fractions on top of each other vertically. So 3 divided by 22, we're adding 9 divided by 55. We need to find that least common multiple between 22 and 55. So that would mean listing out multiples of 22 and multiples of 55 so we can figure out what the smallest multiple they have in common. All right, so listing multiples of 55, we'll have 55 and 110. I'm going to stop here because when we list the multiples of 22, by it being even, we should know that we're going to eventually wind up with a digit that ends in 0. And hopefully it's 110. So 22 times 1 is 22 times 2 will give us 44. 22 times 3 will give us 66. Times 4 will give us 88. And then 22 times 5 gives us 110. There's our least common multiple. Once you find your least common multiple, then you want to rewrite your fractions so that they each have that least common multiple in the denominator. So we want both of these fractions to have 110 in the denominator. Now, in order for us to change the bottom fraction, the 55 to 110, we had to multiply that 55 times 2. Therefore, we also must multiply the numerator times 2. So 2 times 9 becomes 18 for the bottom fraction in the numerator. Now, for our top fraction, 3 divided by 22, what do we multiply 22 by to get 110? And that's times 5. So we also must multiply the numerator times 5. 5 times 3, the top fraction's numerator becomes 15. Now remember, we were adding these two fractions, so we're still going to do that. Now that we have our common denominator, we can go ahead and combine these two. So 15 divided by 110, we're adding 18 divided by 110. So we'll keep the denominator of 110, and we're going to add the digits in the numerator. So 18 plus 15 gives us 33 in the numerator. Now this can actually be simplified more. 33 and 110 we can simplify, we can reduce that fraction. Both of these numbers can be divided by 11. 11 can be divided evenly into 33 3 times, so that numerator becomes 3. We just put in our fraction in lowest terms. 110 divided by 11, this becomes 10 in the denominator. And 3 over 10 would be our answer in lowest terms. All right, let's look at number 10. Now you're asked to subtract. And we have two fractions that don't have the same denominator again, so we need to get our least common multiple. 9 over 11 minus 1 divided by 5. Now what would be our least common multiple? If we list multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, multiples of 11, our least common multiple is going to be 55. So we want to rewrite both of these fractions so that they have 55 in the denominator. And 5 times 11 gives us 55. Therefore, we have to multiply the numerator 1 times 11 to get 11. And now for our top fraction, 11 times 5 gives us 55. Therefore, we have to multiply our numerator 9 times 5 to get 45. Now look what we wind up with. We have 45 over 55 for our top fraction. Now our bottom fraction, and we were subtracting, 11 divided by 55. So we'll keep our denominator of 55. And then in our numerator, we want to subtract. Remember, we're subtracting 45 minus 11. That gives us 34. And this will be our answer. It's already in lowest terms. 34 divided by 55. All right, let's look at number 14. Now this time you're subtracting 3 fractional terms, but we have common denominator. So we can just keep that denominator of 22, and then we're going to subtract the numbers in the numerator. So 16 minus 7, we're just moving from left to right, the first two digits. 16 minus 7, that gives us 9. And 9 minus 13, that gives us a negative number. it becomes negative 9 minus 13 becomes negative 4. So negative 4 over 22 is our answer, but it's not simplified. It's not in lowest terms. We can still divide both 4 and 22 by 2. So we need to divide to simplify our fraction. 4 divided by 2 in the numerator becomes 2. 22 divided by 2 in the denominator becomes 11. And remember that was negative, so we want to make sure we carry over that negative symbol. Our answer should be negative 2 divided by 11. And now let's look at number 16. We're adding two mixed numbers. So the first thing we want to do is change those mixed numbers to improper fractions. So our top fraction, 3 times 7, that becomes 21 plus 6 in the numerator. So 21 plus 6 in the numerator will rewrite our top fraction. So it becomes 27. And the denominator stays the same. So 27 divided by 7 plus. In our bottom fraction, we have 3 times 5, or 15, plus 4. That becomes 19 in the numerator. And then our denominator stays the same, 5. Now, we can't add the two fractions written as they are. We have to get our common denominator before we can add these two fractions. So we're looking for the least common multiple, the LCM, between 7 and 5. Now, the least common multiple between 7 and 5 is going to be 35. So we'll rewrite both of these fractions so that we have 35 in the denominator. Now, looking at the bottom fraction, what do we multiply 5 by to get 35? We had to multiply by 7, so we also must multiply our numerator. 19 times 7, that'll give us 133. In the top fraction, what do we multiply 7 by to get 35? We had to multiply by 5. So we must also multiply in the numerator times 5. 27 times 5 in the numerator gives us 135. All right, so let's rewrite these two fractions so we'll have a little bit more space. We have 135 divided by 35, and we were adding, so plus 133 divided by 35. Now that we have the same denominator, we will keep that denominator of 35. And then we're going to add the terms in the numerator. So 135 plus 133 gives us 268. Now we're asked to write our answer as a whole number, proper fraction, or mixed number. So this one is important because a proper fraction means that our numerator should be smaller than our denominator. All right, so for us to have our answer in proper form, a proper fraction means the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So we want to make sure we have that information in our notes. Numerator should be smaller than the denominator. Now, if we look at our fraction that we have here, our numerator is larger than our denominator. So we need to rewrite it as a mixed number. All right, we got to convert this improper fraction to a mixed number. And to do that, we have to divide 35. We're going to divide that into 268. All right. Now, 35 does not go into 2. It can't go into 2. 2 is too small. 35 can't go into 26. That's again too small. But 35 can be divided evenly into 268. It can be divided 7 times. 7 times 35. We want to make sure we write those numbers there. So we want to, after we first get done with that section, make sure that you place your numbers in the correct order, and then you want to go ahead and subtract. All right. All right, so we left off at writing our fraction. 35 times 7 is where we were. And we got 35 times 7. We need to subtract that 245 from 268. So subtracting here, 8 minus 5 gives us 3. 6 minus 4 gives us 2. Now, the way we take these numbers and create a mixed number, the digit that we divided, so our total number becomes our whole number. So 35 went into 268 7 times. So 7 is the whole number. Seven is the whole number. The denominator stays the same. So 35 stays in the denominator of the fraction that we're going to write beside the whole number. The numerator, right here I'll write N for numerator, comes from the remainder. Our remainder was 23, so our numerator would be 23. The whole number, numerator, denominator stays the same. This would be our answer as a mixed number. So we converted it from improper fraction, 268 over 35, down here to a mixed number, 7 and 23/35. And this is our answer for number 16. Now let's look at number 21. You're asked to find the perimeter of this triangle. Recall that the perimeter of a figure is the distance around the figure. So we got to add each of these lengths. We're just adding these three fractions together. 9/30 plus 10/30. 9/30 plus 10/30 plus 11/30. Since we already have the same denominator, we keep that denominator of 30. And then we'll add in the numerator. So we'll take these digits 2 by 2. 9 plus 10 gives us 19. And then 19 plus 11. That gives us 30. And 30 divided by 30 is just 1. So the perimeter is going to be 1 inch. 1, and your unit would be inch. All right, let's look at number 22. Using this circle graph, we want to answer the question, what fraction of areas maintained by the National Park Service were designated as either A or G? So look at our A. Our A is 3/50. And letter G is 9/100. So what fraction is maintained by these two sections? We need to add them together. 3/50 plus 9/100. Now we can't add these fractions as they are because the denominators are not the same. So I'm writing equal signs next to them because we need to find our common denominator, 50 and 100. Our least common multiple would be 100. So we rewrite the fractions so that we have 100 in the denominator. Now look at our bottom fraction. It already has 100, so it'll remain the same, 9/100. However, the top fraction, 5 times what gives us 100, or 50 times what gives us 100, it's 2. 50 times 2 gives us 100. Therefore, we must multiply the numerator times 2. So 3 times 2 gives us 6 in the numerator. Now we'll keep that denominator of 100. So our denominator stays 100. And then we want to add in the numerator 6 plus 9. 6 plus 9 gives us our numerator, which will be 15. Now 15 over 100, this fraction can be reduced. We can simplify it. You just got to make sure you write your answer in lowest terms. What can we divide into both the numerator and the denominator, we can divide both these terms by 5. 15 divided by 5 gives us 3 in the numerator. In the denominator, 100 divided by 5 gives us 20. So here's our result. 3 over 20 would be our simplified answer. And we'll stop there. That's the last example for Module 2C.